Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Pain, Heart and Home Healing After Loss. I have missed doing this so much. It has been a couple months since I have been behind the mic talking to you guys, and the reason for that is because my first trimester of pregnancy was so rough. I barely had any energy to do anything, literally not even to sit behind a microphone and talk sometimes. And so if you're watching this, you can see I'm in a new space, which is super exciting. And I'll explain why I'm in a new space in a couple minutes here. But I'm very excited about this part of life that I'm in because I'm feeling better. I'm in my second trimester. I'm at right around 20 weeks pregnant right now. And so I'm feeling pretty good. The kids just went back to school. So we're back into our routine, our regularly scheduled lives rather than just kind of winging it during the summer, which, over these years where I have really been learning how to become like the best version of myself and learning how to really just like slow down and live life to the fullest, I want to offer you, anybody who's listening, some of the biggest and best advice that I could offer anybody who feels maybe out of routine or maybe just needs help with keeping up with life or just feels like you want to do it all and you can't do it all and you're always frazzled or you don't have enough time. My biggest piece of advice for anybody who ever feels like this is don't lock into a routine forever, okay? You cannot look at the routines that you build for yourself as a forever routine, okay? You have to take it season by season. And I've learned this because I've been through a lot of different seasons in my life now, especially over the past few years. And so, I used to be when things were kind of just smooth flowing and I didn't have a lot of different seasons in my life, this is what I did every day, or this is what my every Monday looked like. This is what my every Tuesday looked like forever. And that worked for a while. But then when you bring in kids and health problems and pregnancies and, all these things you added into life, there's so many different seasons of life. My summer doesn't look the same as my school year when the kids are here. And so I guess just a random piece of advice that you didn't ask for, but this is huge. And I've learned this at a young age and I'm thankful that I've learned it at a young age, but don't lock into a routine forever. Lock into a routine that works for you in the season that you're in. For summer, I decided I'm not going to stick to my very rigid cleaning routine because it meant that I had to give up slower mornings with the kids and give up all of these things. Well, I wasn't doing a heck of a lot, no matter what the summer brought this year because I was so sick. But that's another, to my point, I was so sick. How could I stick to a routine in the first trimester of my pregnancy? So anyways, I stuck to the routine that worked, which was don't throw up, try to get some food in the house so that your kids can eat, and I stuck with that and that was enough. So anyways, that's just my little plug. But so let me get to the reason why I am here in this space. And it's actually some pretty big news that I've been wanting to talk about on my Instagram. That's where, the majority of my following is. So if you're not following me on there, make sure you follow me on Instagram. Rick actually, so we found out we were pregnant. I think it was May 20th or something like that. And the day that I told Rick that we were pregnant was literally the day after he quit his full-time job and bought a company. And why did he buy a company? Because for years now, even since before I was pregnant the first time, which was 2022, we have been on a long-term goal, long-term journey of wanting to create long-term wealth for ourselves. And, we've done, Rick, for the most part, has done the 9-to-5. I've done the 9-to-5 too, but, I was in the cleaning industry. So it was kind of my hours were flexible, but it's you leave the house, you go to work, you come home, that kind of life. And we just decided years ago, we didn't want it forever. We didn't mind putting in the time and the grind for a little while, but we knew that we didn't want that forever. And through all the books we've read and the podcasts we've listened to and following these super successful entrepreneurs, we just have known that we we wanted more than that. Not that there's anything wrong with a 9 to 5. I'm not knocking it, but we just knew that that wasn't how we wanted to live. And so we have been reading and learning and gaining so much knowledge from the people who have gone before us and done this on how to build real financial wealth so that one day we don't have to ever stress about money ever again. And one of these ways that, that we've been researching is just being a business owner, is not necessarily having to show up to a 9 to 5, but being the owner of a business. So that's like a very short version of where we've been spending a lot of our time and doing a lot of our, educating of ourselves or whatever. So we finally decided to take the leap. Well, he finally decided to take the leap, quit his full-time job, and buy a business that had a lot of potential with a good friend of his who is now his business partner. And that literally happened the day before we found out we were pregnant. And so if you follow me on Instagram, you saw that I posted a video of me telling Rick that I'm pregnant. And what's funny is the part that I didn't show, and I don't normally cuss on my podcast because I like to make it really family friendly, but I'm about to cuss. So if you have kids around, maybe just pause it. It's just for a joke. But so what you didn't see was I cut out the end of the video, which he actually, so we have our moment, we hug, we're kind of sitting there in shock. And then he just kind of sits back and he goes, man, I really got to make this shit work. And it's just because, he had to make it work no matter what. We already have 3 kids in the house. It's not like we're just, we have a mortgage. We need to eat. We have 2 cars. Like, it's not like he only needed to make it work because I was pregnant, but the fact that I was pregnant just added a whole nother level of like, yeah, you really got to make this work. And so anyways, so he quit his full-time job and he was working from home. So he now has an office with his business partner that they work out of. And we were left with this home office that my husband actually built. He, put these walls up and, he made this cool soundboard. If you could see it, in the background here, we actually set it up to be a recording studio / home office because my husband and he plays guitar. We both sing. And so we'll get there one day. I'll whip out my musical abilities for you guys. But in the meantime, he doesn't use this office anymore. I needed a better space to just kind of come and just really focus. I was doing it out of doing my recordings, my podcast recordings out of my daughter's nursery, which we really haven't touched since she died in late 2022. We haven't done much to it. We took the stuff out that was like, we weren't going to use, like the diaper pail, the changing table, like that kind of stuff we stowed away because it was kind of too hard to look at. But the crib was still up. The dresser was still there. The rocking chair was still there. And so for the past couple of years, that nursery has served, has been a space for me to just go and connect with her, I guess, although I've been able to find other ways to do that. But to be able to do the work that I'm doing now, which is this podcast, showing up on Instagram, showing kind of hopefully hoping to lead a way for people to get through baby loss and to get through loss in general and trauma and all these traumatic things that we've been through over the years and to give them hope. And so I've used that space over the last few years is that now that I'm pregnant again and hoping and praying and believing and all these things that this baby is, living and we get to raise it and he lives longer than us and all of these things, I wanted to get into a space that felt more just about what I'm trying to do rather than just simply connect it to the nursery. Plus, a baby's going to be in there now and I don't want to be sitting there recording while he's possibly sleeping, whatever. So that's why I'm in this space. My husband is out of the house now and we have taken this new journey of, well, I'm not the business owner, but I'm the business owner's wife. And it comes with a lot of sacrifices. Like he's not making as much money as he was before. He's not home anymore. And it was like a lifelong dream for him to be working from home. And we got to enjoy that for a little while. Eventually down the line, yes, he'll be home and we'll be all together if we can stick this out, and we can grind through these early days of being, business owners. And our long-term goal is honestly to buy several businesses. We don't want it to just stop here. We want to blow this one up and then, move on to, not move on, but add more, to our lives and eventually build that financial wealth. So that's kind of just a life update. That's why I'm here in this office. But I wanted to also just share with you just some growing and some learning that I've done over these past few months while being pregnant with my what people call a rainbow baby, and just facing pregnancy head on after you have a loss with no previous living babies. Because I do think there is a difference. I don't know because I don't have that experience, but I think it's probably, I would imagine it probably feels different to a mother who suffers a miscarriage or has a stillbirth or loses a child who had living children previous to that. I would imagine it feels very different. I'm not making less of the loss. The loss remains the same, but I would imagine it feels different than for someone like me who it was my first child that I ever lost. But regardless of who you are and what number child you've lost, this is my situation. And so going through this pregnancy after a full-term stillbirth it's a roller coaster. It has its ups and downs. And so a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, we just went on vacation. And we went on a cruise with some family members, and it was nice. Like, the reason it was very nice is because I was so sick for several months. It was nice to like get up and do something normal and to like actually enjoy it. But when it relates to my grief and the loss and all of those things, a couple of things that I remember very vividly thinking while I was on the trip and going, I got to write that down and I want to share that with people. First of all, leaving ever since Layla has died, whether we went on vacation, like shortly after she died, like 4 months, I won't even get into why, but I went to Vegas by myself. Well, I met people that I knew when I was there, but like Rick didn't come with me. The kids stayed home. Like I flew to Vegas by myself. Then a month or two later, we went on a family vacation. Then Rick was sick and all the things, so we didn't do that. But then the following year, we went on another vacation. So anytime, I've been on a couple overnights. Anytime I've left the house since loss, it was very emotional for me. It was, I felt like I was leaving my daughter there, and it almost felt like I was losing her all over again. And so, one of the things that I would do is I would go and I would kiss her urn with her ashes in it before I left. And I felt like I was holding my breath the whole time until I got back and then I could breathe again. And I remember asking my mom, because she's normally the one who like watches the house when we're gone, like, please just keep an eye on her ashes. Like, make sure nothing happens to the nursery. And it was almost like, well, first of all, like, what's nobody was like in and out of the house. Like, nothing's going to happen. What would happen? But that was my way of just, making extra sure that she was okay. But since then, with all of the growing and the learning and what I'm going to call healing that I've done, one of the biggest things that I've been able to do is not feel like I'm leaving her behind when I leave my house, but truly learning to keep her with me everywhere I go, even when I'm in the Caribbean, even when I'm in Vegas, halfway across the country, even when no matter where I am, I have really learned that, I don't have to leave her behind every time I walk out of the house. It would be the same if I was leaving to go to the grocery store or the mall or to the kids' school. Like, I don't get emotional every time I leave. So, I kind of just started telling myself, why is it different if I'm just going on vacation because I'm further away? Why can't she still be with me just like I take her with me, everywhere else? And so I thought that was a pretty cool step in my healing process. I was able to not be stressed the whole time that I was leaving her behind. It wasn't necessarily as emotional. I didn't feel like I needed to, kiss her urn or have an emotional moment in the nursery before I left, because I genuinely felt like no matter where I am, like, you're here. And so, so that was pretty cool. And but so on the flip side of that, I wasn't completely grief free, I'll call it, on the trip. I remember towards the end, I was starting to get homesick. And that happens. I do that all the time. Like towards the end of a vacation, I'm sure that's pretty normal. Like I get very homesick, and especially when it's, especially if after you've traveled, because what we did was we did a cruise. And so then after the cruise, we had to spend one night in Florida, which is where we, flew out of to go home. And so it's like the main part of the trip is over, but you still have that like one night in a hotel that you're just ready to be home because the main part of the vacation is over. So you're just ready to be home. That's when I start to get like really, really homesick. And I remember my husband and I were just kind of sitting on the bed in that room, and I just started crying, and I was kind of having a little bit of a grief wave. And at first I was like, no, like you're on vacation, like don't let it. And I'm like, who cares where I am? If she's here, my feelings are very real in this moment. Like, who cares if I'm on vacation? I could have chosen to shelf my feelings and shelf the wave, but I didn't see any purpose in that. So I let it wash over me. And I remember telling Rick, like, I feel very homesick right now. And then I had this like very vivid thought of how when you feel homesick, like if you've ever experienced homesickness before, the best feeling is like walking through your door back home. The best feeling is like being able to like satisfy that craving of home when you get home. And I just remember thinking like when you lose a child, and it might not even be a child, but again, I'm speaking from my perspective because the biggest loss I've ever suffered was my own child, my baby. It's kind of like it's kind of like feeling homesick because she feels like home to me. She's a part of me. She came for me, like, but you're never able to like satisfy that craving. You're never able to like walk through the door. And so at the time when I was kind of having this grief wave, not only was I, like literally physically, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like legitimately homesick. I just wanted to be home. I was also feeling a little homesick for my daughter. And when when I can't control the tears, when the grief wave like washes over me and I feel like, yeah, I got to let this out, is when I feel that deep homesick feeling of I just want to be home, but I know I cannot satisfy it. I know I can't fill that craving, if you want to call it that. And so if that illustration helps anybody, because I know I have a very hard time describing to people how this feels sometimes. And so when that happened, I was like, you know what? That's a really good way of describing it. Now, I'm not saying you have to stay in that pain or stay stuck in that pain. I am on a healing journey, and I am a very, very firm believer that we do not have to live in this pain, and that there is a lot of happiness and joy and hope past this pain, beyond the pain, hence the name of this podcast. And so, so I was able to smile and laugh a lot and eat a lot and all of these things on the vacation. But I cried when I felt sad, and I did it without feeling guilty either time. And I just thought that was really, I wanted to share that with you guys because I want you to see 2.5-ish years into my journey, how I'm able to live life in this way, how I'm able to go on a trip guilt-free and smile and laugh and eat good food and spend quality time with family and, and all of these things. But I can also, a moment comes up, you have a grief wave, I can cry and I can feel those deep feelings and feel a little bit of sadness and missing her and wishing she was there, but that I can do them both, and I can do them both wholeheartedly without feeling guilty for one or the other, and not necessarily remaining stuck in that pain and that sadness. Like if I came home and the whole thing was a bust because I was just sad the whole time, to me, that's the opposite of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to learn how to take both of these worlds, not worlds, that's not the right word. Both of these, I don't know, somebody give me a word. The joy and the grief, and really, really learn how to live them both wholeheartedly to the fullest without feeling guilty while I'm feeling one or the other. And so I hope that resonates with somebody. I thought it was very cool to see the progress that I'll call it progress, that I've made over the last, couple of years here through this grief and healing journey that I'm on. And so what I'm focusing, so now we're home. Like I said, the kids are back in school. We're back into our routine, our current routine in 20-ish, 18 to 20 weeks, we'll have a baby, and then we'll have to make another routine, and we'll stick to that for that season. And Rick actually has, this is another thing I haven't shared. He's been doing great. His health has been doing great. We got a little off track there while I was sick. I wasn't making homemade meals. I wasn't making sure everybody got their supplements every single day. I did the absolute best I could, but luckily we set ourselves up to have lots of wiggle room when it came to his health, so that if he did, eat like crap here and there or miss the supplements, like it wasn't like we're back to the hospital like it was, a couple years ago. But, so we've been slacking, but we're back on track and whatever. But because of his multiple surgeries, he actually did develop a hernia, which when we found out, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But these are very common in his situation. It's actually not causing him any pain. So, which is good, which means at this point, if we wanted to get it fixed, it would be an elective surgery. They wouldn't make him, but we are going to get it fixed because it could turn into a problem one day. And we're like, why get back to that point of it being a problem if we could just fix it now? So in about a month, on October 10th he has to have another surgery, but the hope and the prayer is that his surgeon can do this robotically so that he doesn't have to get sliced open again. And it should be like you're home that same day kind of surgery. So that's coming up. So that's one of the things that we're focusing on, just making sure that we're, eating right again and getting all of our supplements and getting our walking and our sunshine and our fresh air and all of the things that we've been doing to better our health, get rid of the negative and focus on our mental, emotional, physical health. We're back on track with all of that. We're prioritizing that, prepping for Rick's surgery in about a month or so. I'm also gaining all of the knowledge that I possibly can for a unmedicated, as natural birth as I possibly can come January, which is when I'm due. Not because I'm not flexible, not because if I get rushed in with an emergency and they say, we got to put you under, I'm going to fight it. Like my physical, mine and my son's physical health are top priority. I am flexible when it comes to that. But I also just have this very deep, burning desire, and it's not just a desire, it's something that I feel like I was made for, was to deliver children naturally. And maybe that stemmed from my doctor telling me that after Layla was born. She looked me in the eye and told me, like, you were meant to do this, so don't stop trying, is basically what she told me. And I actually think that's where that desire was birthed from, no pun intended. But ever since then, I just really want to nail this, I want to have a successful birth. I want to do it unmedicated naturally. So those are my goals. Although I'm flexible for the safety of both of us. So right now I am gaining all of the knowledge. I am doing lots of stretching and exercising not lots of exercise, I'm not overdoing it, but to prepare myself for a unmedicated, birth. I am meeting with a doula soon because I would really like to have a doula at this birth, and probably all my future births. I would love to do a home birth at some point in my life, but Rick's not about it right now. I'm like, I get it. With our experience with being considered high risk, to be honest, I don't even know if a doula or a midwife would want us to, if they would sign up to do a home birth with me because I'm considered high risk and because I've had a stillbirth. I don't know. I haven't gotten that deep because we ruled out home birth for this time, but so we'll be in a hospital, but I want it to be as natural as possible. So I'm trying to create as much of a natural, supernatural, God-designed event that childbirth is as best as I possibly can in a hospital setting. So I am asking all the questions. I have a big talk coming up, or a big appointment coming up with my doctor next week to ask all these questions. And just a reminder, guys, this is on you. Like, I am not relying on my doctor and the medical field to make this experience what I want and to make sure that, I am being looked after with the utmost care. And if you have a good doctor and you're at a good hospital, like, you'll be cared for, and they'll do they'll do what they need to do to keep you alive. But if you are trying to make a difference, if you are trying to, I guess my point is nobody's going to come up to you with all of this knowledge if you don't go out and seek it yourself, unless you found some amazing doctor or medical, place, or are going out of your way to hire someone to teach you this stuff, which is part of what we're doing. Nobody's coming up to you and going like, hey, here's literally everything you need to know. Here's all of your options. Like, chances are very slim that anybody's going to do that for you. And so I am taking it upon myself to advocate for myself with my doctor, with my holistic doctor, with this doula, and all of the other holistic knowledge that I could possibly pack into my brain in the next, 5-ish months. Because it's my responsibility. And so I'm taking full control of that. And so I'm excited about all of the things that I'm going to learn. And I really, really, really want to just kick this in the butt. I want to nail it. I want to turn around and be able to tell other women you can do it. Because I remember, it's hard because it's like, yes, as real as my birth experience was the first time, even though she was stillborn and she died, I still gave birth. Like, I still had a natural birth. But I ended up getting the epidural because my mind was just, I went 24 hours I had to process that she was gone. And then because I had prepped for a natural unmedicated birth the first time, but it was like all of that went out the window when I found out that she had died. And I wasn't like working towards the end prize, if you will. There was no end prize. It was just dread and fear and sadness and everything. So even though, yes, I have experience with natural birth, or I should say vaginal birth, it was totally diluted. And so I am hoping and praying and prepared to make this very different. And that comes with making sure that I'm way more aware of the risks and all the possibilities that come with all of this. So maybe that's for another episode. I won't get into all those details now, but so I'm working on that. Another thing I'm working on is really just, not living in fear through this pregnancy. I joined a community of women when Layla died, filled with mothers, thousands and thousands of moms who have had stillbirths, miscarriages, and if you, on an average day, I'm not saying everybody is like this, but on an average day, if you're on social media or you're on the internet and you're in the community of child loss, baby loss, I shouldn't say any kind, well, even any kind of loss, the general frame of mind is that next thing. So for me, it's being pregnant again. After I lost a baby, it's being pregnant again. Is terrifying. It's horrible. It's brutal. It's all of these negative things. And I'm like, but all of those things are choices that we make. And so if I can choose to live in fear and I can choose to be scared and fearful and miserable through this pregnancy, why can't I choose the opposite? And so I'm really, really trying to not live in fear, because all of these women just keep saying to me, like, your pregnancy after loss journey, it's brutal, it's horrible, it's fearful. And I'm like, I don't want that for myself. Now, everybody's situation is different. If your pregnancy after loss comes with other health problems or comes with, risks to the baby and all these things, I'm not talking about that. That comes with its own set of fear and whatever. I have a healthy pregnancy again. I remain nothing but hopeful for this baby and this pregnancy, because that's a choice. I can choose to live in fear, but at the end of the day, whether I choose to live fearfully or hopefully, like, probably isn't going to determine what happens to this baby when it comes time to deliver him. And so I really want to choose to not live in fear and to not make this pregnancy after loss totally miserable and fearful, because I want to turn around to all of these women, these thousands and thousands of women who go on this pregnancy after loss journey and don't want to live in fear for 9 to 10 months. And I want to look at them and go, you don't have to live in fear. This doesn't have to be brutal. This doesn't have to be, all these things. And so that's what I'm focusing on now. And really just enjoying this pregnancy. I loved my pregnancy last time, even though I was super sick. This is with Layla. I was sick in the beginning for the first trimester, a little bit more than the first trimester. And then, of course, every woman is uncomfortable in their third trimester. But after the first trimester, I loved being pregnant. I felt glowing. That's the most beautiful I have ever felt. We had a gorgeous shower for her. It was like literally one of the best days of my life, this baby shower. I just loved it. I was so hopeful. And like, that's what I want. I don't want to look back on this pregnancy and feel like I didn't get to enjoy it, because what if, not what if, but obviously, hopefully he makes it earthside. So what if he does? Then I don't have any good memories like from his pregnancy. And one thing I have heard from a lot of women is how much guilt they felt for not enjoying their pregnancy, the one right after loss. And so I don't want that to be me. And so I'm really, really focusing on educating myself, not living in fear, enjoying this pregnancy to the fullest. And another thing is just really, really embracing this role of caretaker to my home and my family. For years I have struggled, and this is also through our fertility struggles, like struggling to even get pregnant in the first place. So for years on top of that, I have struggled, like, should I be working more? Should I be making more money? Should I be living the entrepreneur life, or should I just be helping pay the bills? Like all of these things. Because there's not enough people out there telling women that the amount of effort, I mean, maybe now more than ever there are, but in this world of feminism that we live in, and women can make it on their own. And I'm a firm believer that women are strong and we are capable of so much. Like, I am not putting women down in any way, shape, or form, but the amount of energy and effort it takes to run a family, run a home, be the caretaker, the chef, the cleaner, all of the things, and make sure that everything's in order, whether your kids are at home or at school, no matter where they are, like, it is astronomical. And you've seen these breakdowns of, like, if my wife, if my wife got paid for all the things that, she does. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but it breaks it down. What's a personal chef for a year? What's a babysitter for a year, a house cleaner? And then it shows you, like, it's $250,000 we would spend on all of these things that my wife does. If we were to hire out rather than having her, and it's a lot of money. And so my point is there's not enough people going, like, you don't have to do both. Like, trust me, we've made a huge, huge financial sacrifice in me not working full time, and me not bringing in a second income. But what we have is a thriving family, 3 children. When I say thriving, I mean mentally and emotionally and physically well. Nobody's Rick's on a medication right now, but that's not a long-term thing. And we also are taking a lot of other holistic measures. Our goal is to get him off of that. But my point is after the suffering that we've taken, my kids have been through very traumatic times, with their past. And because I'm assuming you all know this, but if you don't, the 3 kids that live in my house are not biologically mine. We have full custody of them, but they, I won't get into that, but they had a rough childhood. And so none of us are on medication. We're all doing well in the fields that we're doing in. Our physical health is doing well, and everybody is showing up to where they need to be, and all of these things. But that takes somebody behind the scenes to do that all. And that person is me. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. What I'm trying to do is I want to turn around and give all these women who feel the pressure to add to the financial burden of your home and your family and your life it's a big part, but it's only part of it. Keeping everybody healthy and thriving should be a huge focus and priority on your family and in your marriage. That's another thing. With the things that my husband and I have been through, we have every reason to have let our marriage crash and burn. Crash and burn. And a lot of marriages have, through loss and trauma and health issues and devastation like we've gone through. A lot of marriages have suffered. But because, and I'm not saying it's all me, like I'm not the only reason that our marriage has, he's half of it. But for a while there, it was me, because he was sick in bed for a year and couldn't move. And I could have easily been like, yeah, no, thank you, and just left. All of those things take a lot of time and energy and work. And so my other random piece of advice, I guess, to give to you that you didn't ask for, but that I have learned firsthand, and I have learned it early on at a young age, and I'm so thankful. I actually have a lot of older women message me very often on Instagram telling me, like, you are so lucky you learned this at a young age. I wish I had learned it sooner. So if you don't want to take it from me, take it from all of the older women who message me constantly saying, this is a good lesson to learn. I wish I had learned it sooner. This is especially true for women. I'm sure there's some men out there, but for women, like, we are not meant to do it all. You know, like if you ever come across like an influencer or somebody that you see and you're like, how do they do it all? I had this conversation with a friend of mine from Instagram. Her name's Leslie Burris. She's super inspiring. I look up to her a lot. And we talked about how when people ask us this, we just laugh. We're like, we don't. We literally don't. You might look at us and think we have it all. But whenever you think that about someone, what you need to remember is that person doesn't have it all. They just have the areas of your life that you wish you were prioritizing, but you're not. Because when people look at her, and I'm kind of putting words in her mouth, but she did say this in our episode, and people look like, actually, I'll speak to myself because I know this. People will, say to me, mostly on Sunday mornings at church, which is funny. I show up, my hair's done, my makeup's done, my kids look good, like we're a unit, and I'm pregnant and I have 3 kids, 14 and under, like, and they say, how do you do this with 3 kids? How do you always look so good? It's like, that's it, because I chose to get up early enough. Like, I went to bed early the night before. I prioritized my sleep so that I could get up and I could look good and make sure my kids were up so they could look good, so that we weren't scrambling out the house. So it's like, if you're looking at me going like, how do you do it all? It's like, I'm not doing it all. I'm just doing the things that you wish you were doing, that you wish you were prioritizing, but we write off because we don't have enough time for that. But really, we do. I talk about that all the time. You have time to do whatever you want to do. You just have to prioritize it. And so I say all this to say, right now, there are very few things in life that I am prioritizing. With this baby on the way, there is nothing more important to me right now than our health as a family, our wellness, the birth of this baby being successful. And so, the last thing I want is to get to the end of this pregnancy, me not do my due diligence and my research and be more cautious and be more, all of the things, and then something bad to happen and go, I wish I would have asked more questions. I wish I would have studied more. I wish I would have looked into it more. Who wants to do that? Now is the time to choose what I want to prioritize and to do them wholeheartly. And yes, it's going to come with some sacrifices. I'm not working right now because what I'm doing is things like this. I am offering, my experience to other people because that's what's important to me. And I'm keeping up with my family's health. I spend hours in the kitchen every week prepping our food because it's important to me that my family eats healthy. It's important to me that we don't have to live on drugs and medicine and all of these things to live a non-authentic life. And those are the things that are important to me right now. And so that's what I'm prioritizing. And And so I'm very excited about this baby. Sometimes I just want to close my eyes and just go to sleep and until he's here and skip the whole birthing part, because that is what I am most, what I have most, it's not even fear. It's, questions. Can I do it? Am I capable of doing it? You know, the whole thing. But I don't live there because I just continue to tell myself I am capable. I am strong enough. I was meant to do this and all of these things. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I'm not saying I never have fears. I do have fears that come up, but I remind myself every single time that all of these things are a choice. And so I am choosing hope. I am choosing to love and embrace this pregnancy. And I am choosing to gain the knowledge that I can for the best outcome possible. And that's all I can do. And at the end of the day, like, that is literally all I can do in order to make this successful. All I can do is all I can do. And then the rest is, you know, up to how things are going to play out. And so anyways, thank you for listening to this episode. I would like to do more of these because I think me just speaking unscripted with no guest and just allowing you to just give me give you an update of where I am and how I've grown is really going to show you guys that this true joy and happiness post loss and post devastation and post trauma is really possible. I'm on no medications. I'm not on depression medicine. Not that there's anything wrong with grief counseling or therapy. Go to it. I did it. I did grief counseling. And if I had the opportunity or the financial, you know, resources, I would probably keep going. But right now I'm not. I don't feel like I have to rely on it, I guess is my point. There's absolutely no shame in it. As a matter of fact, I urge you to, if you're struggling with feeling hopeless and depressed and all of these things after loss, trauma, devastation, go talk to someone. You must talk to someone, as a matter of fact. And so there's no shame in that. But right now I'm at a place where I'm not. I don't need to be. I don't need medication. I'm living as holistically and as naturally and as God designed as possible to enjoy this life as much as I possibly can. And so, but anyways, I think that's all I have for this time. I will definitely be bringing some more guests on, some grief experts. I had to make a lot of cancellations, unfortunately, when I was sick, but I want to get all those people back on the schedule. So keep listening, keep liking, commenting, sharing, all of these things. It really helps. And I really appreciate all of the love and the feedback that I've gotten for you guys. So I can't wait to chat with you all again really soon. Signing off for now, your hope dealer, Emmy Smaz.